Over the next 3 weeks, we're taking a tour through the world of Louis Jadot. From Chardonnay to Pinot Noir, we'll find out if one of Burgundy's most recognizable names lives up to the hype. These wines are everywhere, but are they actually worth buying? Let's find out.
Welcome to Stop Wasting Your Wine, a wine review podcast dedicated to helping you discover great wines with great value for every occasion. Hey everyone, Aaron here, joined by Colin and Joel once again every Tuesday. We're back. However, we have escaped Australia.
Yay.
We were there. Yay. We were out. We were there.
I enjoyed my stay.
It was nice. We were there. We had some great fan recommended wines.
We did.
Much better than the ones we found all by ourselves. And
100%.
Yeah, it was great.
It'll be nice to not drink something that's, 15.5% ABV.
Yeah.
It'll be nice to kind of give the palate a rest from
Scale it back
the
a bit.
heavy hitters. That's right.
Yeah, we're drinking a very seasonally appropriate wine today, which is nice.
Love that.
And it is brought to us by our friends at Louis Jadot. I'm so excited about that. We were chatting with them. They sent a bunch of wines our way to try. So we're going to spend the next 3 weeks kind of working through, I think, some of their more recognizable and widely available bottles, which is always great to talk about stuff that pretty much everyone listening to the show can find within a couple miles of their home. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Louis Jadot is one of those brands that, while it is a mass market brand, usually has a pretty good reputation for being one of the more quality big names, I will say. So I'm excited to see if its reputation holds up and that plays out.
And we've had these bottles in storage here for a couple of weeks, and it's taken a lot for me to not open these up. So I'm excited to actually get to open them now instead of just look at them.
Yeah, 100%. Super excited about this. Before we get into the wine today, we are getting into some more French wine. So there's probably going to be some French words, and we're going to do our best. And just, as we learned during the Australian month, some people get real defensive about how wine words are pronounced. Shiraz,
Yeah, they do.
hectare.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep things fun. Wine is about having fun, and if you keep how words are pronounced and you make it really hard for people, they get intimidated and they don't try new things. So we're just going to do our best, and we're going to keep enjoying the wine in front of us.
And both versions of those two words are legitimate, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah, and, depends on where you are in the world. All right, Joel, what are we drinking today?
Yes. Okay. So today, like we mentioned, our first step into the world of Louis Jadot. We're so excited to be doing that. So today we are starting with the Louis Jadot Beaujolais Villages, of course, from Beaujolais Villages. This is 100% Gamay. This is from 2024. This is 12.5%. So like you mentioned, Colin, a little bit of a breather for the palate.
Yeah, love that.
Mark this
off
one
the
down,
gas.
folks. I know, right? Mark this down too. You can pick this one up wherever you are, widely available for about $14.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Louis Jadot usually associated with the budget price range, although they do make some, very high-end Burgundy and Pinot Noir. So they do have that out there. But usually what you see in the grocery stores and stuff is definitely in the $14 to maybe $20 price range. So it'll be interesting. We've seen bottles in that price range before that have been, I'd say, less than excellent. So, it'll be it's interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah. And I mean, we kind of named very recently that we found like $17 seemed to be like the magic number for as far as like crossing that threshold. But we would be amiss to say that we have not found really great bottles of wine under that mark.
Yeah,
in the
Especially
past,
from
right?
France.
Especially from France, right?
Yeah.
So 100%. So this could be another just excellent find, but it's only one way to find out. So let's get into our first sips. All right. So on the show, we always start off. We take a little smell, take a little sip, and then we say the first word, single word that comes to mind. Joel, what is the first single solo individual word that comes to your mind when you take a sip of this wine?
Airy.
Ooh.
That's good. I like that.
Thank you.
Colin?
Yeah, I was going to say light. So I feel like
see.
we're kind of in the same boat there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say fun.
Okay. So here's the thing. I liked both of those words. And the word I was looking for was something that had light, but like I didn't want the negative connotation with light. And I didn't
Sure.
just want fun. I wanted something more descriptive. So I wanted like light and fun, and that's where Airy came from. So
Wow.
we are
Look
all
at us,
like right
perfectly
on the
aligned.
same area. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, airy, light, and fun. That definitely hits a theme. And so when we talk about chilled red, this already has a whole bunch of words popping up that seem to kind of keep it in that realm. Let's see if it lives up to our first expectations. Let's see what's on the nose. Colin, I'll start off with you. What are you getting?
Yeah, what I'm really actually enjoying about the nose is what I'm not getting. And that is kind of that Beaujolais Nouveau candied banana, candied fruit thing that you sometimes get with the, I'd say not lesser, but Beaujolais Village and below quality tiers. So I'm really enjoying the fact that that's not front and center and really just more of the, I would say, traditional Gamay flavors are shining through.
Yeah, but I totally agree, and I think you talked about some of the Beaujolais that I think sometimes they lean into the hype around a Beaujolais, and they're like, we can put something out there that's that banana candied thing. What I like about this is the good parts of that. I think are shining through. Like there's really nice cherry, there's really nice a little bit of spice in there, but really it's very fruit forward, I think. But like you said, it's not a candied like fakey version of this at all.
Yep.
It's just very nice and fresh.
What a fun wine to jump to after doing like a month of Cabernet and Shiraz, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
like, because this is right off the bat so different on the nose. It's so much like Joel just said. It's so much more of like the bright red fruits and not like the dark red fruits. And it's lighter and brighter and doesn't have the oaky, hue and all that stuff. So it's as different, I think, as you can get while still being a red from what we've been drinking for the past month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the wines are at the totally opposite end of the intensity spectrum. But yeah, I agree on the fruit color. It's fresh. It's red. Joel, I think you said cherry is a really good call. Getting a bunch of strawberry. That's really the one that sticks out for me. And then I think spice is a really good call because there definitely is a little bit of that in there as well. And this is the flavor profile that got me really into Gamay and Beaujolais to begin with. So like from that standpoint, I'm really excited to try it a little bit more and see if the palate matches the nose.
All right.
Were you going to say get it on right there?
No, I wasn't.
Let's see if we can get it on with this wine.
Yeah.
See if we can get it on.
Let's get it on with this wine right now.
Let's get it on.
Colin, why don't you just like lead right into it, put it in your mouth and tell us what you're getting.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the fruit that we called out is absolutely there. It's not a terribly complex wine, which is not terribly surprising at $14. But what's there is really nice and enjoyable. Like the red fruit comes through. You're getting that strawberry and that cherry, a little bit of that spice, Joel, I think is a great call. And I said light, and I think that's because for a couple things. One, the body of this wine is, very light, and which checks out at 12.5% alcohol, checks out with the style you usually see at a Beaujolais. So the flavor profile, we'll say, is not that light. There is a tad bit of intensity there, which I'm enjoying.
Joel.
Kind of thrown by that last comment because there's definitely more, I think a little more grip than I was expecting. But flavor-wise, like I almost think it's a little lighter than what I was expecting even on the nose, to be completely honest with you. Like it's there, but boy, is it soft. And again, not even in a terribly negative way, but like it's just coasting there in the background a little bit.
Yeah, maybe intensity was the wrong word. Maybe I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but like there it just seems like a lot of flavor. Maybe it's not like hit you over the head flavor, but it seems like there's enough going on to where it doesn't just disappear. It's
Agree
not
with
just
that.
like
Yeah.
watery. Maybe that's what I was
totally.
going for. It doesn't like dissipate immediately. There's enough flavor there to keep you interested. I think maybe
For
that's
sure.
what I was trying to get across. But I agree, it's not terribly intense or expressive, especially compared to, any of the Shirazes that we had.
Yeah.
No, there's a thinness, but there's also kind of a surprising amount of grip to this wine too. There's like a little bit of tannin going on that I don't always associate with Gamay, but it's there, and it gives it, I think, a little bit more texture. Is a little bit more body there, and it's letting everything hold on for, what Joel's saying is like it's not a ton of different complex flavors coming through, but what is there is hanging out a little bit longer than I'm expected. And I'm really getting like a sangria vibe from it when I think about like the chilled wine. And if I want to put out like a red on ice during, having people over on a summer day, or, someone actually wants to pour like a chilled glass of wine in a glass by the pool, like this is actually kind of hitting on those notes for me, because it has that kind of sangria light, not thin in a watery way, but thin enough that it doesn't feel overbearing, especially if I'm like outside.
Yeah. No, I think I like that, because I thought to myself earlier, and now that you brought up sangria, it kind of reignited, but like it kind of reminds me of like a fruit salad type situation with just the fruit profile. A lot of those red berries in there, something light and something refreshing that you would definitely, have during the hot summer months, but it definitely has that vibe to it as far as flavor profile is concerned.
So funny you say that, because I was gonna say earlier, it was reminding me of like you'll understand why I wasn't gonna say this when I say it, but almost like a Kool-Aid fruit punch, but not in the mouthfeel part of it. I'm not saying that it's sugary or anything like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just in the mix of all the fruits that are just kind of dancing around in there. So it's funny. I think that's, when you said fruit salad, I was like, that's a better way of putting that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. That kind of pleasant fruit combination, I think this wine is given out, which is quite enjoyable.
I think that's the exact same place my brain went to with the sangria. It's just adult different fruit punch. Like that's all that is, right?
It's so true. But it's an interesting balance that this strikes too, because if I was listening to us describe it, I'm now thinking in my head, oh, it's a very fruit forward, fruity fruit bomb of a wine. It's not.
No, it's not.
The flavors are, but they're all so kind of like toned down in a pleasant way that it makes it a really relaxed sip. Nothing is overwhelming.
You said refreshing. I think refreshing, or someone said refreshing is a good word to describe this, because you have all the flavors, but I don't like using the word thin. Kind of like you were saying earlier with the word light. Like I feel like thin sound negative, but there is something about that's cutting it just enough that I can see myself drinking a chilled glass of this on a hot day. Like there's that refreshing nature that's making it accessible despite it being 110 degrees outside.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's in this wine, the acidity. This for a red wine has some really nice acidity to it, and I think that's what's keeping it refreshing. Because I think if it didn't have that, I think all of those fruit salad, fruit punch flavors would be way too much. But this has that acidity and the structure to deal with those what could be very intense, even off-putting at times flavors. So I think that's what's really kind of bringing this back down.
Cool. All right, I think we just cut through a lot in what started off as a very straightforward wine, but that was a pretty intensive conversation about this bottle. And I will say, Colin and I talked about this at the very beginning, and then Joel joined a little bit later. This is a bottle that once you open it up and you give it a little bit of time, definitely has evolved dramatically from 15 to 30 to 45 minutes. So something to keep in mind. Especially since we're going to take a break from the wine for a minute, we're going to learn a little bit of something, and then we'll come back to it with our final thoughts. All right, so we talked a little bit about labels a couple weeks ago, and we're going to kind of dive back into that because it's really important. Again, like earlier when we very briefly talked about the intimidation of trying new wines, right? Old world wines can be so scary just on appearance, because you can look all over a bottle of wine, a label of wine from France, and just have no idea what's going on there, because there's such like an old world assumption of just like knowing what this is already. This bottle actually today is such an exception, probably because Louis Jadot is such a big brand and they want to make their wine accessible. You look at the back of this bottle, it actually just like names everything out for you, like the grape, what you should be expecting, what you should pair with. I have a huge appreciation for that, but that's not normally the case when you look at old world wines.
Yeah, and especially on the front of the label, right? I mean, the biggest difference between the old world and the new world, like you said, is in the new world, everything's labeled by a grape, right? It has Cabernet or Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. You know exactly what you're getting. It might also say the region, but it's going to give you some indication of what's in the bottle. In the old world, and here in France, they usually flip that around. They tell you the place and they assume that you know what grapes are growing in that place.
Yeah, I did. You guys, maybe I'm the only one, but before starting our wine journey together, and back before Colin, I know it's been a long time since you didn't know much about wine, but Aaron, I mean, did you ever have a situation where you sat down, you looked at a wine list at a restaurant, and you were like, "Is this the grape or the region?" Like
Totally.
I didn't know that there was a difference for a long time.
Well, and I think it's tough, and I think it has to do with the fact that, yes, to your point, to what you guys have been saying, some places focus on one or the other, and when you get into it a little bit more, and like we're always talking about, just start drinking, somewhere, find what you like, and it'll all kind of start placing themselves in your head, and it'll start to make more sense. But it can be really intimidating, and it's actually, I do think it's a lot easier once you do start going down the path. And I would also just say, when you are getting into the old world wines, you don't need to memorize every little region, winemaking region in France and Italy and Spain. Start to learn the big ones, start to learn the handful of the famous ones, and then go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a great example. Like, while this wine bottle itself is very accessible, 99% of the time, if you look at a bottle of Beaujolais Village, it will not say Gamay anywhere on that bottle. Just the expectation is that that Beaujolais Village is a Gamay. And so, like, there is, like, you don't have to memorize everything, but there is this, like, knowledge is power kind of aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to, like, when I first started going on dates with my wife and I'd want to take her to a nice restaurant and get a bottle of wine. Man, I was just doing the second cheapest bottle of wine trick for years because I didn't know what so many bottles of wine were on there. And I probably bought absolute crap because I was scared away from the stuff that I didn't recognize.
Yeah. And just real quick, the old world producers aren't trying to trick you here, right? It's not like they're trying to confuse anybody or make it more intimidating. But for them, traditionally, place is what matters, right? So they name place on the label because it's more important, even a lot of times, than the grape that they're making or putting into the bottle. So, I think it's important to remember that too. Like, nobody's trying to mess with you. They're not trying to confuse you. It's just part of tradition, and their tradition is place is very important.
It's almost the opposite, right? It's like they're not trying to mess with you at all. They're just doing their thing. And the expectation is like, if you want it, like, what it is.
For sure, 100%. But, I think that's important to keep in mind why they're doing it. And, as you're shopping for old world wine and getting into old world wine, once you start to realize that these different locations have their own grapes, it starts to make a lot more sense. You start seeing something like Chablis, that's going to be Chardonnay 100% of the time. You see Sancerre, that's going to be Sauvignon Blanc. You see what we're drinking tonight, Beaujolais, it's always going to be Gamay.
Taylor Swift drinking Sancerre. All of a sudden, Sancerre's flying off the shelves. It's the same Savvy B you've been drinking. You didn't do anything fancy.
I mean, it is a phenomenal. They make some outstanding.
I am sure
Sauvignon Blanc and Sancerre. It is delightful.
You didn't discover anything too new.
No, that's true. For sure. But all of that to say, there is some utility in learning the basics of the wine regions
100%.
In the old world because it gets you more comfortable with the grapes that you're drinking.
Yeah, and then what that allows you to do too is now you can unlock sort of, hey, I know that I like this region, or I know that I like this grape, and then, hey, maybe there's a grape that I like from a region I wouldn't have expected that to come from, and you can kind of start playing with that, and that's what kind of fuels the adventure part of drinking wine and drinking your way through the many different iterations that are out there. That's the fun part.
And that's where the value is a lot of the time too. once you understand what a region is famous for, a lot of time the value comes from the grapes that the region's not famous for because the famous producers are making those wines with different grapes. So a lot of times there's some really good stuff in different regions, but to understand that part, to Joel's point, you first have to understand what the region is known for.
That's it.
Absolutely. So yeah, so again, like we're not telling everyone to go out and memorize everything. You don't have to be ready to like pass your WSET exam, but there is power in knowing the basics. And if you want to feel comfortable ordering wine at a restaurant or feeling good about walking into a wine shop and being able to find something you like, there's power in knowing what some of these more popular, more common wine phrases, regions are. And then once you find one you like, you kind of unlock a whole new section that you didn't have before. And that's what it's all about.
Enjoy.
That's why we're here.
That is what it's all about.
That's why we're here.
100%.
Fantastic. This is a great one. All right. We have given this wine ample time to open up. All right, so we're going to get into our final review. I'm going to give you guys both a chance to give your final thoughts on the wine and then dive into, how you rate it. Remember, on this show, we don't believe in numbers. We believe that, wine is about the experience, it's about the vibe, it's about who you're drinking with. So we use a very different wine rating system. For us, the must-share bottles of wine are the wines that are exceptionally good, that have something just a little bit extra to them that you want to share with people around you. Solid pours are also really good bottles of wine at really good value. Casual sippers are those wines that are enjoyable. You have them around the house, but maybe they're not the most memorable wines on the planet. And then wines that are overpriced, low quality, or generally undrinkable are just a waste of your wine. And of course, we all have our coveted wine fridges that we get to put our 3 favorite wines of the year in. Our fridges are all currently full right now. So if we wanted to put today's wine in, we would have to take another wine out. All that being said, I'm hosting today, so I'm going to let myself go last. Joel, any final thoughts on this wine and how you rating it?
Okay, this wine is very cool. This is a cool wine.
Very cool.
Gosh, and then just throughout this whole thing, remember, listener, we're talking about a $14 bottle of wine right here, okay?
Heck yeah.
A very accessible $14 bottle of wine.
Find it
and
everywhere.
It's good. And what?
You can find it anywhere.
You can find it anywhere. And it's good. Really nice. I mean, it's just very enjoyable. Like, this is one of the most enjoyable wines that I think we've had in a long time. And when I say enjoyable, I don't mean like the craziest wine and the one that we talk about the most, even though we talked about it for a good while. It's just one of the most easy drinking, but still really nice wines that we've had in a long time. So to me, this is like a really solid pour. Like the most solid pour. This is exactly what we're looking for the solid pour category. Incredible 100%. Value and a really nice experience drinking the wine. So that's where it's going for me.
Absolutely. Colin?
Yeah, so I'm kind of torn between a solid pour and a casual sipper. And not because there's a lack of quality, but to me, this is the most casual of sippers, right? Like, you could just sip this casually without thinking about it.
You're thinking about your own casualness while sipping.
I'm thinking about my own casualness, right? And, from
cool.
A quality standpoint, there's a good bit going on. The flavors are really nice. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Like, it's just such a easy drinking wine. It's just like one of those wines where if you want something on a Tuesday and you don't really want to think about it, this is it, which is the casual part. But then it's $14. Like,
yes,
I don't know. I honestly don't know if you could find a better $14 bottle of wine than this. So I think for that reason, I'm going to have to call it a solid pour because of the value. And it's just like, again, the value mixed with all those things I said about just the enjoyability. Like, I think that's what really bumps it into that category. This isn't a wine that you're going to like necessarily impress people with. This isn't a showstopper by any stretch of the imagination. But if you just want something fun and easy to drink and light and something you can probably have more than one glass of, I'd challenge you to find a better bottle of $14 wine than this one. So a solid pour for me on this.
Yeah, no, this is a crowd pleaser for sure. And I think this is kind of the beauty of our rating system is when you use the traditional number system, right? Like, and you see a 97 next to a 91, you're going to be like, that 97 is a significantly better wine than that 91. And that's just like, just not fair to wines. You can't put all wines on that scale because some wines are trying to do something very different than other wines. We talked about intentionality a couple weeks ago, right? Like what you're actually trying to achieve with this wine. And this is light and accessible and fun and $14 in a bottle I want to drink sitting next to the pool, which I don't want to do that with $150, heavy bottle of red. So this is something that I think is achieving its purpose. And for that, I think it's an absolute solid pour. I agree with Colin. It's like casual as hell, but like part of our casual sipper is like, it's not that memorable. It's like fleeting. And like, right. I'm going to remember this wine. Like every time I walk through the store and I need to grab a bottle of wine when I'm having people over that I know everyone is probably going to enjoy the heck out of, I'm going to grab this bottle of wine because it's $14 and it's really high quality. So yeah, absolute solid pour of a wine, and one that's definitely going to have like a spot in my pantry as like a go-to for the future.
You know what I think is really cool about this wine too is I feel like you could bring this into a group that ranges from real wine newbies to real wine connoisseurs, and everybody there would enjoy drinking this, And again, I think it's going to impress the newbie. I think the connoisseur would be like, wow, this is great for $14, which is like, but I think everybody would be happy.
And it's $14 at Target. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind the most is you can find this wine anywhere, literally anywhere. And it's providing excellent value at $14. I mean, just phenomenal value. King of the grocery store wines is what I'm willing to stamp this the king of the grocery store wines. Until
I haven't found anything better.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Find me something better. Yeah, we have. But incredible value for $14. Would buy again.
And the last thing I'll say about that, too, is like one thing I've noticed about the people who kind of review or talk about wine online, who also seem to be the people who just love wine. They don't let the price get in the way of like naming wines that they like. I watch like a lot of Tom Gilby videos, and he'll taste like a bottle of like $10 for us, his quid, whatever over there. Yeah. But like, and he'll be like, damn, this is good.
Yep.
And so I appreciate that kind of removal of, that feeling of like, this isn't expensive enough to be a good wine.
Yeah.
It's like, no, a good wine's a good wine.
Yeah.
I also love when Gilby calls something an absolute pisser.
Shit.
Those are even better. Absolute piss.
Yeah. If you don't watch Tom Gilby, do it now, because it's just
the best,
the most enjoyable wine expert out there.
And if he comes across this and hears my impression, I'm really, really sorry, Mr. Gilby.
You're a delight. And we're sorry.
Big fans.
All right, so before we go, we're going to play a game. We are going to play one of our newest games, which is quickly becoming a fan favorite. It is called Grape Guesses. Joel, take it away.
It's one of my favorite games. And if this is the first time that you're playing with us, it's pretty simple. I'm going to ask these guys some random questions about a wine topic. Today's being Beaujolais. No real expectation that these guys are going to know the numbers. Some of the numbers are crazy. It's all just about guessing and being closest to the pin. That's why the name of the game is Grape Guesses. All right.
If you get these answers right at home, you're a freak.
I would be very impressed. I will say some of these not as tough as before. Yeah, okay. Some of these, knowledge might be helpful. Okay,
no human to kangaroo ratios this week.
Not this week. Yeah,
bummer.
Yeah, but we'll still have some doozies here. Okay, so think of a number between 1 and 5. Aaron,
4.
Nope.
3.
Yes. Okay.
It's a bullshit one.
Colin, you get to go first.
Let's hear it.
All right, something we didn't talk about here. Today we're drinking a Beaujolais Village. Beaujolais is the first appellation to formally use that term, village. It's a designation to distinguish between its superior vineyards and the village AOCs. So, in what year was the term village first used?
I have no idea. I'm going to go with like 1910.
Okay. Colin says 1910.
Okay.
Aaron?
I know like this specifically because I looked at it earlier that Louis Jadot was founded in like the 1800s, but I think these systems weren't created until much later. Okay. So I'm going to say 1940.
1940. The correct answer, 1950. Aaron gets the point.
Oh, wow.
Heck
well done, sir.
I'm learning stuff.
Not bad. Not bad. All right. Question number 2. How many hectares, and yes, we're in France, so I'm going to say hectare. How many hectares of vineyards are in all of Beaujolais? This is all 12 AOCs.
Okay. Woo. I'm going to say, I'm thinking back to Australia now. I'm learning about the metric system. They had 140,000 hectares of vineyards.
Very Swedish. Go on.
I don't. Hectares. Okay. And obviously, big continent, much larger. We're talking about a part of France. So I'm gonna say 10,000.
10,000 from Aaron.
That's a pretty good guess, but I'm gonna go 9,999.
You jerk!
You just totally tried to Price is Right this guy.
Did I get prices righted?
No, you might be right. I might be way undershot that.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you made a decision to be like, yeah, you have really limited yourself in potential to win. The answer, 13,500. I don't know how you guys are so close on this one.
Dang, I'm feeling good this
I'm
week.
very impressed.
Yeah.
I don't think I made these hard enough. My gosh.
No, I just think we're getting smarter.
Maybe that's the case. All right. What percentage of these hectares are making Gamay and Gamay only? What percentage?
Man, I'm going to say 87%.
87% from Colin.
Say 86%, so bad. But I'm going to go.
Do it. You won't.
But I might because I'm literally just...
Grape guessing.
Yeah, I'm going to go 86%.
86% from Aaron. Get ready for this. The percentage of all wine-growing hectares of land in Beaujolais, 97% Gamay.
Wow.
97%.
That's a lot of Gamay.
That is.
Is that not insane? The other 3%, what do you guys think? This isn't part of the game, just side game.
Chardonnay.
I have not. That's a good guess. I have no idea.
Chardonnay. It's Chardonnay.
Wow.
Aaron, what is going on today, man? You were like on.
After 3 years.
Crazy.
I learned some things.
All right, Colin, you need this to tie it up, okay? But Aaron, you get first stab at this one. And it's everybody's favorite question. How many bottles of Beaujolais are exported from France each year? And comments before you come in and say they're not exported in bottles. They're exported in vats and transported. We're talking the equivalent of 750 milliliter bottles. How many 750 milliliter bottles are exported from France every year?
God, you all.
Just a Beaujolais.
All right. 213 million bottles of Shiraz from Australia. I'm gonna say 80 million.
Okay, 80 million.
80 million? I think that's too much. I'm gonna go with let's say 35 million.
35 million. The correct answer, 17.5 million.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Colin has
tied
tied
it up.
up
Look at
this
that.
ball game.
Nice job. I'm really
Thank
proud
you,
of us
thank you.
right now. We were just getting. I mean, I'm not proud of that last guess on me, but I'll take the other ones.
Yeah, I wasn't that close either. I was just relatively more close.
Significantly more close.
All right, tiebreaker round. And for this one, I'm giving you guys a 10-second time limit to lodge your guesses. You don't have, there's no order. Just when you're ready, say it, and I'll grab it. All right, if every one of those bottles was placed end to end, how many kilometers would those bottles cover?
There's so many problems with this question.
10,
for my brain.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
1,000.
1,000 from Aaron. 4.
I'm gonna say
3.
300,000.
300,000. Okay.
I don't know how long a kilometer is.
If you kilometer and an inch are the same in Colin's head. You may have been closer if we were doing inches, Colin. I'm sorry. The correct answer is 5,100 kilometers, which is enough to get from Paris to New York, about the distance of Paris to New York, which is pretty interesting. So, by winning that tiebreaker round, Aaron, you have won this fantastic match of grape guesses. Congratulations.
Fantastic. Good job, everyone. We learned a lot.
We did.
Excellent. Awesome. I like that game because it is fun and we actually learn some useful information at the end.
Yeah, it's a great game.
What was it? It was 17 million bottles of
17.5 million bottles. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. That's good to know.
Pretty crazy.
Fantastic. All right. Well, this was a great episode. We discovered a $14 solid pour in this Louis Jadot Beaujolais Village Gamay. Fantastic. It's definitely worth the grab if you see it around you. Colin, if someone wants to interact with us or, send some wine our way to be on the show, how would they do so?
Yeah, sure. Check us out on Instagram. Stop Wasting Your Wine. You can email us. cheers@stopwastingyourwine.com. And those are really the best two places. You could Google us, and whatever platform you listen on, if you could hit that follow button, we would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week.
And remember, stop wasting your wine.
Bye, Al.
Bye. Oh, bye. Jump the gun.
Right on that.
I don't know how long a kilometer is.